Turn your Bibles to Mark, the second chapter. Mark, the second chapter. Mark, the second chapter, right there at the first verse. You know, I have grown up in church. Stay right there with me. I've grown up in church. I've been in church, around church, played church since I was born. That's in my blood. So I've seen church as it is evolve, just like most of us have who have been around the church and in the church. We have seen church evolve, and the message of God never changes. Never. If you're changing the message of the Bible, then you've messed up what God has told you to do. The death, burial, and the resurrection, the good news, the gospel of Christ, that's basically what the Bible is about. A lot of times we get into things that have nothing to do with our salvation and try to learn stuff that really has nothing to do with our salvation. So if it's not dealing with my salvation, it really doesn't concern me too much. If it's not dealing with getting better and becoming a man of Christ, it doesn't concern me. So a lot of the things that we do, if it doesn't deal with our salvation, we sometimes try to get too intelligent, I think, and learn too much that it messes with us and it confuses us. How can you ever learn too much? You can learn too much when you think you know more about God and what God knows about God. Contradicting or taking things from the Bible. Well, what does the Bible really say? It's right there. Well, what is the Hebrew and Greek? You're not Greek and you're not Hebrew. Amen. So you read the Bible where it is. That's what God given you, the King James Version, and he lets us understand. But the church has evolved, and we don't do things like we used to. There used to be a time when there was a reverence to God. Amen. You could not do whatever you wanted to do and expect to be doing what God wanted you to do. There was a reverence, there was a fear, there was a respect you had in the house of God. Shalon, you remember those days growing up. You just weren't allowed to do some things. Now, some of the things you weren't allowed to do was simply because of rules and regulations, and the other things was because the word is specific about it. But even though in the evolving of what we do, I believe that our methods have to change. We have to change the methods of how we do things. We have to change how we win souls. We have to change how we present. We have to change how we teach. We have to change and change with the generations that we're dealing with and the people that we're dealing with. The issues that people are dealing with now, some folk never even thought that they would deal with these issues. And so we've evolved and we've changed and we've come through some things. But what I like about this thing, Carrie, is that no matter how much we change, Jesus is still right. Holiness is still right. Amen. The songs we sing are totally different. Totally different. Totally different than the way we used to sing them. Freedom. I want to jump a little loud than before. We didn't sing that song back then. We sang songs like Put Me Back in G. We sang songs like this. Were you in G? I need thee, oh, I need thee every hour. I know I said G, where am I at? I need thee, oh, bless. Y'all remember that? Me now, my Savior, I come to thee. Y'all remember them songs? That's the kind of songs we say. I need thee, oh, I need thee. We used to just come in and sing those songs. Oh, bless me now. Michaela, you don't remember those. My Savior, You see, we didn't need the words on there because that's the songs we just sang, because we understood that it was those songs and the anointing that was placed on those songs that we got through some stuff. By singing those songs, we would sing the blood songs. Oh, the blood of Jesus. Y'all remember those? Oh, the blood of Jesus. Oh, the blood of Jesus. It washes white as snow. Now, I know I still sing those songs, but I remember those days that we did that. And there was something that got inside of you when you sang those songs. Basically, it was the spiritual side of this thing called the gospel. It was this, where am I going? You asked, where am I going? It was the spiritual side of the gospel. But there is a practical side. The administration of how we do things. And the church sometimes can become too practical or too spiritual. How can we become too practical or too spiritual? Well, we can become too practical by just doing whatever we think we're big enough to do in the church and calling it ministry. Churches now have lights and stuff like that, and if that's what you want to do, that's good. But don't think that it's only the practical side that you need. Because what people do is they become so practical that they miss out on the spiritual. And when people focus only on the practical instead of the spiritual, then they're lost. And if they only focus on the spiritual instead of the practical, then folks are confused. Why are you confused? Because if you walked into church and all I did was shabba-ba-ba-ha-ya-ba-ba-ba-ha-da-da, you would think I'm crazy. Because I gave you no practical ways to live beyond shabba-ba-ha-ba-ba-ha-ba-ha. That's fake speaking in tongues for you that don't know that. So you've got to understand that when we do this thing called church, and this is my text today, when we do this thing called church, we've got to learn how to skillfully blend the practical with the spiritual and make it one fine mechanism of workmanship. We have to be able to be practical in our thinking, in our delivery, and also spiritual in our prayer, in our thought, in our abilities. And we've got to learn how to put these two things together. And that's what the church has become. We've become very much practical and lost and losing the spiritual side. If I would ask you, how many of you pray? Don't raise your hand. But how many of you really sincerely pray? Every night. It takes you 24 days to form a habit, am I right? And so in order to form a habit, you got to do it 24 days in a row. Some of you may get to 4 or 5 in praying and then stop. But how many of you really pray? Now, you may ask, what is prayer? Here's the practical thing of prayer. The practical thing, let me back up. Here's the spiritual side of prayer. The big words. Bishop prays. Father, oh most gracious and all eternal God, we thank you. That's good. Because I can do that, right? Because I've been brought up in this thing. I've been taught how to do that. And after 44 years, I finally figured out I can pray like that. But that's not prayer, or that's not the only way to pray. I'm going to show you a practical way to pray. It's me, God. I really don't know what to say, but I need you to do something for me. And all the stuff that I learned when I was young, you probably already know what it is. So all I can say is hook me up, God. Just hook me up. Michaela, you can say that. Hook me up, God. You see, that's the practical way of praying. But it becomes spiritual. And we ask people to pray. When I ask the young people to pray, their eyes light up. Oh, I can't pray. Why not? Why can't you pray? You talk every day. I know you talk in school. So you can talk to God practically and spiritual. It's not the Shabbat. Okay? But watch this. So, why am I saying that? I'm saying because it takes a fine blend of practical thinking, practical delivery, and spiritual warfare. You've got to put those things together. You can't be so spiritual that you're not practical. You can't be so heavenly bound that you're no earthly good. You can't be so heavenly bound that you're no earthly good. What do you mean? You're so heavenly bound that you ain't got time for nobody here on the earth. You ain't doing us no good. So we got to learn how to pull the spiritual and the practical together. And when we learn how to do that, we do that by giving people Jesus. Someone say Jesus. We don't need to give them our opinion. We don't need to give them what we think. We don't need to give them, Tim, even what we learn. We don't need to give them any of that. We need to give them Jesus. And what's wrong with the church sometimes is that we don't know how to direct people to Jesus. They come in here with a problem and we want to give them our opinion. And that's not going to work. But we got to get them to Jesus. People are coming here looking for Jesus. I don't need opinion. I don't need what you think. I don't need what you feel. I don't need what you believe. I just want you to direct me to Jesus. Some of us say, well, you just got to look for him. If I knew how to look for him, I wouldn't have to come and ask you. I don't know how to look for him for myself, so I need you to help me look for him. So here we find in Mark, the second chapter, we find a very interesting text. And I'm going to read that so I can give us some validity to what I'm saying. And again, he entered into Capernaum. He, being Jesus. After some days, and it was noised that he, being Jesus, was where? In the house. When you get Jesus in this house, that's when people get delivered. Go to verse number 2. So Jesus is in the house. Verse number 2, Javon. And straightway many were gathered together, insomuch that there was no room to receive them. No, not so much as about the door. And he preached the word unto them. I want to show you where your practical way of thinking can get you to a place if you're just looking for Jesus. I didn't even give you the message that I preached. My message is, say it with me, someone, please get me to Jesus. That's what we're talking about. Someone, please get me to Jesus. Verse number 3 says, and they came unto him, bringing him one sick of the palsy, which was born of 4. Keep going. And when they could not come nigh unto him for the press, they uncovered the roof where he was, talking about Jesus, and when they had broken it up, they let down the bed wherein the sick of the palsy lay. This is very interesting because, it's interesting, Brad, because Jesus was in the house. What is important about getting Jesus in the house? What's important about getting Jesus in the house? It says where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is what? Liberty. The word liberty means freedom. You wonder why you can't sing the song Freedom and get enjoyment out of it? It's because you don't understand that you have tapped into the Spirit of the Lord, and wherever the Spirit of the Lord is, that's Jesus. Wherever Jesus is, there is liberty. So anything that I'm going through, Sherry, if I get to Jesus, I can be freed from what I'm going through. But I need to get to Jesus. And that, Kim, is what the old church used to do. They knew how to get, Sister Marion, they knew how to get to Jesus. They may not have had the practicality that we have today. They may not have had the technology that we have today, but they knew how to get on their knees and cry out until Jesus came. We can't do that now, because we become too practical. One of the things I talk about is staying in church too long. Practical. But you can become too practical when that's all you're worried about is getting out in an hour. Because you can miss. God said, I'm going to move in an hour and 5 minutes. And because you on a time limit, you got to get an hour, 5 minutes comes, Jesus shows up, but you gone. That's being too practical and not being so spiritual. Then there's those times when we in church for 5 hours and we trying to pull out the Spirit of God. God says, I done showed up, I done blessed, and I done left. But you didn't even see me because you were so super spiritual looking for me in this great, mighty way. I came in a quiet, still voice and told you what to do, and then you should have went out and started doing this. If we want someone to get delivered, how do we deliver them? If we want them to get delivered, how do we deliver them? We deliver them by getting them to Jesus. Not our opinion, not what we think, Sierra. None of that, Jordan. We get them by simply presenting Christ to them and saying, here, let me give you somebody who can help you. Because if you ask me, I don't always have the answer. Bishop doesn't always have the answer. I don't know. Well, you're the preacher, how can't you know? Because I don't know. If I knew it all, I'd be a very rich man. I don't know it all. Bishop doesn't know all. But what I can do is I can get you to Jesus. And then I've got enough sense, Brad, to know my lane, know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And so when you understand what you're good at and what you're not good at, then you learn how to bring the practical with the spiritual. And so we see here that there was a man who was paralyzed. His friends wanted him to be healed. But in order for him to get healed, Minister Howe, is that he had to get to Jesus. They knew spiritually that there was no way he could be healed unless he got to Jesus. They knew in their hearts that if I want my situation to work out, it won't work out until I get to Jesus. Is there anybody in here that needs something from God? And you know that the only way you can get it is if you get to Jesus. Is there anybody in here that's tired of church? You're tired of board meetings. You're tired of business meetings. I don't need another chicken dinner, y'all, but I need to get to Jesus. And so the men, when they found out their friend needed to get to Jesus, they knew that they could not get to Jesus through the door. You see, when Jesus is there, Everybody wants to be there. You remember that commercial when E.F. Hutton talks? Everybody listens. When Jesus is in the house, everybody wants to be in the house. If you want your church to grow, put Jesus in the house. If you want your church to flourish, put Jesus in the house. So they had to get to him. And they knew that if I don't get to him, so the Bible said that when they could not get to Jesus because of the door, Brycey, come here. Brycey, quit talking to Tara. Come here. Jordy, come here. Y'all better hurry up. Hurry up, run. Run. Hey, look here, man. When I tell you, you better run. Don't hit you. So watch this. You got to learn how to get, look at that hair. Woo, look at that hair, man. You got to get to Jesus. Come here. Stand here. And so, come here, Javon. I can't see you, but I know you're back there. Stand right in front of him. Come here, Brother Bill. Stand out there. Stand out there in about midway. Not you, Javon. Get back. You. Walk up here. Stay there. You get there. It's awful bad when you can't see over top of your 15-year-old, isn't it? Wow. So watch this. Come here, Olivia. Scoot up. Come here, Olivia. Watch this. Watch this. Come here. Come through here. Let her through. So here we are. And I got my baby Olivia here. Stay with me, Tim. But because everybody wants to get to Jesus, I know that I'm spiritual, Sister Glenna. I know I'm spiritual because I've got to get to him. This is crazy. This is what God does. So I got to get to the man Jesus. Bill's Jesus there. I got to get to Jesus. Brad, come here. I'm going to need your help. And so because my baby girl here needs Jesus, where Jesus is, I can't get to him. So we come to him through the door and we try to go this way and it's blocked because everyone's around Jesus. Stay with me, Tim. Everyone's around Jesus and we try to go this way and this boy is way too big for me to get to Jesus. So here's where the practical thing comes in. The unorthodox thing, the thing that we're not used to doing. So we're not used to doing something. And because we're not used to doing it, if somebody does it, we think they're crazy. No, they just practical. They're not crazy, sis. They just practical. They got common sense to know that I don't need your issue. I don't need you to tell me nothing. All I need you to do is get me to the king. So, when they couldn't get through the door, I'm going to make this girl up. He said they lifted her up on the roof. Right there. Watch. You're pressing Jesus. Come up a little bit, Jesus. He said, come up some more. Right there. So, stand up. Get up. Take it. I got you. I ain't gonna let you fall in this. Watch this. Yeah. So, they got up there, and they realized that I had to be practical and spiritual. And so one of them was lifting her up on the roof. The other one started breaking up the roof and tearing down. And when we broke that down, give it to me. I got it. Now that we broke that up, I just got Jesus. And so, the whole thing is And I'm going to close. Lord God, I'm going to close this, Terry. Watch this. Watch this, John. Watch this, okay? Grandma, watch this. When I get into Jesus, come here, Olivia. Boy, I need a time out. When I get into Jesus here, and she's walking with Jesus, everything that you left, you kind of want to look back and see. All right. I left my circumstances, but Jesus will turn you around. You don't understand, Jesus. I got to go back and clean up my mess. No, you don't. You just keep on walking. This is where the spiritual side of the church comes in. You don't understand. I have some things in my past. I gotta know. Come on, keep going. You got to learn. I gotta forget those things that are behind you. And reach those things. So, when practical, I ain't tell you to sit down and get up. That's what we do. Jesus don't tell us to sit down and we sit down. God wants you to stand up. God wants you to stay standing up. It's not because we're ready to sit down, but God said stand up. Gotta get to Jesus. Why is she looking back at the mess that I've left behind? We've done the practical. Brad and I did the practical. She ain't little Olivia anymore either. And we had to lift her up and get her to Jesus. Now the spiritual comes. Don't you worry about what's behind you. Come here, Sister Turner. Because God, come here, Hal. Come here, Pam. I got three of you. Three of you. What you left behind, we practically got you here. But you don't got to worry about what's behind you, but spiritually, y'all will go and get there, messing, get out there, keep all of you. Don't worry about that anymore, because God's got that. Don't worry about it. All you got to do is keep on getting to Jesus. He's got that. It's not there. And you get to Jesus, now you'll be able to go back and say, I thank God. Is that where he's from? Because the last time I was here, I had all kind of hell beside me. I couldn't get to Jesus last time I was here. But because the church became practical and got out of the norm and broke up the fallow ground, then the spiritual took over and removed my past. And whom the Son has set free is free without a doubt. You don't have to worry if you get to Jesus, because you're free. You're free. Thank the Lord.